Life as We Know It with Tom Walton.
Veterans Day is always a special day of reflection for Toledoan Theodore Jenkins, a proud retired Marine officer, but this year, November 11th, carried an intensely personal meaning for him. It was exactly 100 years ago, last Sunday, as World War I neared its end, that his father, an Army Sergeant First Class also named Theodore Jenkins, distinguished himself in battle in the East Flanders province of Belgium. Sergeant Jenkins assumed command of his unit in the absence of his commanders and rallied his troops in the face of intense enemy artillery and machine gun fire. Why was the sergeant commanding? All the officers were dead or injured. It turned out that his determination to lead was one of the last great acts of courage of the war. A day later, 100 years ago last week, it was over. 3 months after the war ended, the French government, grateful then as now for the help of the American military in preserving France in World War I, awarded the Croix de Guerre, or War Cross, to Sergeant Jenkins for his actions that day. At the time, the Croix de Guerre was the third highest decoration presented to members of the military, following the Legion of Honor and the Military Medal. Sergeant Jenkins would also receive the Silver Star from his own country for his heroism. Theodore Jenkins the Younger is understandably proud of his dad, who died in 1989 at the age of 95. It was his father's heroic war service that instilled an intense spirit of patriotism in Mr. Jenkins, who has a distinguished military record of his own. Mr. Jenkins is a retired colonel in the Marine Corps with 42 years of active and reserve duty. He's a veteran of World War II and saw combat in the Korean conflict. He was an enlisted man in World War II, but went to officers' training school after being summoned back to active duty in 1950 for action in Korea. Like many veterans of war, he doesn't talk a lot about the dangers he faced. Neither did his dad, although Mr. Jenkins treasures an envelope that bears the few notes his father shared. His dad's sacrifice is all the more admirable considering that he served in the European theater of war in World War I with 2 of his brothers. Think about that for a moment. 3 siblings from one family in Pemberville all served together in harm's way. This was long before anybody thought about the Sullivan brothers or Saving Private Ryan. Ted Jenkins the Elder and Ted Jenkins the Younger are the kind of guys you want on your side in any conflict. Even today at age 90, young Ted refuses to slow down. He led the charge at his alma mater, Bowling Green State University, for the placement of a POW MIA empty chair at the Stroh Center. Positioned by itself at one end of the arena, it honors all the university's veterans who never came home. In the nearly 2.5 centuries since its founding, the Marine Corps has come to represent what all branches of the U.S. military are about, the stout defense of freedom. World War I was called the war to end all wars. What a tragedy it wasn't. But we can be grateful for patriots like Sergeant Theodore Jenkins and Colonel Theodore Jenkins, father and son. They deserve the nation's thanks for their service. Semper Fi.
Life as We Know It is written and hosted by Tom Walton and is a production of WGTE Public Media. Life as We Know It with Tom Walton can be heard on WGTE FM 91 every Monday afternoon during All Things Considered at 5:44 p.m. Or hear past episodes at wgte.org/life.